All right, let's dive into this wild off-season saga that somehow still feels like it hasn't even started for the Golden State Warriors. We're at that point in the calendar where fans are usually debating rotations, wondering how the rookies are looking in early scrimmages, maybe even getting excited about a new jersey drop or media day quotes. But here we are, still talking about roster holes and signed veterans and a Kuminga situation that just refuses to wrap itself up. And now, toss Cody Martin into the mix as a potential free agent signing. And yeah, this is where we're at. It's late August. The rest of the league is mostly settled, and Golden State is still trying to figure out what this roster is even going to look like in training camp. The Warriors technically have some verbal agreements in place, which means, well, not much until pen hits paper. Deals with Al Horford, D'Anthony Melton, and Gary Payton II are all widely expected to go through, but because of the unresolved mess around Jonathan Kuminga, those signings haven't become official. Teams across the league are assuming those guys are heading to Golden State, but until it's all inked and announced, everything remains up in the air. And that's exactly the energy this offseason has carried. Nothing firm, nothing done, just a bunch of frustration and waiting. Let's start with Al Horford. The veteran big man is expected to join on the taxpayer mid-level exception, just under $6 million. There's some speculation that Horford will also receive a player option, although that detail seems to be coming more from Boston sources than Warriors insiders, so it's still a bit murky. Either way, Horford brings exactly what Golden State has needed for years now, a stretch five who can anchor the defense, space the floor, and provide that veteran presence. He's a champion. He's a leader, and he makes perfect sense for a team trying to maximize what could be the final run of the Stephen Curry era. Then there's D'Anthony Melton and Gary Payton II, two guards who would be returning on minimum deals. Great value pieces. Melton is a strong perimeter defender who can shoot the three. GP2, we know what he brings: defensive intensity, transition energy, and an unrelenting motor. Solid glue guys. But even with those three expected additions, the Warriors would still have a minimum of 3 roster spots left open. And right now, they've got 6 spots vacant. 6. The most in the entire NBA by far. No other team even has more than 2. That's not just unusual. That's borderline negligence this late into the offseason. The assumption is that Kuminga fills one of those spots once his situation is handled. Then you lock in Horford, Melton, and GP2. That's 4. Maybe you give one to a Richard, the second-round pick who just won a national championship and looks like a plug-and-play defender already. He's a guy who could step in and eat some regular season minutes on the wing. His offense still needs development, but he brings toughness and versatility. The other second-rounder, Alex Chiku, often referred to as Alex Tay, is much more of a project. He's not ready for rotation minutes yet. So that brings us to Cody Martin, a name that doesn't exactly move the needle for casual fans, but might just make a lot of sense for where the Warriors are right now. According to reports, Martin is on Golden State's list of free agent targets, and he's waiting to see whether that opportunity with the Dubs becomes his best option. If not, he's prepared to wait for training camps and see what other roles might open up around the league. He's 29 years old, out of Nevada, and has quietly carved out a solid NBA career. Most of it's been in Charlotte, where winning has been, well, not exactly part of the experience. Martin is a classic under-the-radar contributor. He defends at a high level, has decent size at 6'6", and brings a level of physicality and awareness that could actually be useful on this Golden State roster. He's not flashy, he's not going to fill up the box score, but he does the little things. He can hit threes at a respectable clip. He's been up around 38% in past seasons. He can handle the ball in short bursts, and he knows how to move without it. He was even averaging around 4 assists per game in one of his better seasons. For a team that's looking to round out the bench and fill gaps around its stars, Cody Martin could be sneaky valuable. And the defense, that's really where Martin makes his money. He was one of Charlotte's best on-ball defenders, often taking the toughest perimeter matchup night after night. Last year, he ranked inside the top 100 in the entire NBA in D-LeBron defensive rating. That might not sound like much, but when you're talking about hundreds of players being in that range, especially on a bad team, says something. And when you narrow it down to his actual position, he probably ranks top 25 as a defender among wings. That's a big deal for a Warriors team that just hasn't had enough reliable wing defense outside of Andrew Wiggins. Martin's versatility gives Steve Kerr another card to play when the rotation gets tight or when injuries start piling up, which we know is bound to happen at some point in an 82-game grind. He can guard twos, threes, and even small fours in a pinch. He doesn't need touches to be effective. And for a guy who's been stuck in lottery limbo with the Hornets, he's probably hungry to contribute to a winning team for the first time in his career. Now, he's not the only name floating around. Seth Curry and Malcolm Brogdon have also been linked to Golden State in recent weeks. Seth, of course, has the Curry name recognition, and the idea of playing alongside his brother Steven is a fun storyline that a lot of fans would love to see. But realistically, the backcourt is already crowded. You've got Steph, obviously, and then Chris Paul, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, D'Anthony Melton, GP2. It's not exactly a position of need right now. What the Dubs truly need are wings. Guys who can guard up and down the lineup and not need the ball to be effective. And that's why Cody Martin may actually be the smarter target. Brogdon, on the other hand, is the most talented of the group, no question. He's a high IQ player, can run an offense, defend at a solid level, shoot from outside. But again, he's another guard. And given the uncertainty with Klay Thompson's departure and the commitment to developing guys like Podziemski, it's hard to see where Brogdon fits unless there's another move coming. Which brings us back to Kuminga. The logjam, the question mark, the situation that's held the entire offseason hostage. According to reports, the Warriors offered him a 2-year, $45 million deal, but it comes with strings attached. The second year is a team option, and he'd have to waive his no-trade clause. Kuminga and his camp have pushed back, rejecting the offer and strongly considering signing his $7.9 million qualifying offer instead, which would make him an unrestricted free agent next summer. And here's the thing. All indications are that Kuminga doesn't even want to be in Golden State anymore. That's not just speculation. That's a direct report. He reportedly wants nothing to do with the organization. And if true, that's a massive red flag. Because not only are the Warriors trying to build a roster for next season, they're trying to find some kind of future blueprint beyond Curry. And Kuminga, with all his talent and athleticism, was supposed to be part of that. But instead of being a cornerstone, he's become a roadblock. His indecision is preventing the front office from making moves. It's limiting what they can do financially. And worst of all, there's a non-zero chance that even if he stays, he comes into next season frustrated, disengaged, or worse, focused more on his own numbers than the team's success. That's not an environment you want, especially not with Steph Curry still giving you all-NBA level play. So what happens now? There's a deadline looming, October 1st. That's when the qualifying offer expires. That's when decisions have to be made. Either he signs the Warriors' 2-year offer, he takes the qualifying offer and becomes a lame duck player with unrestricted free agency ahead, or Golden State finds a way to renegotiate a new middle ground deal. The front office reportedly still believes that Kuminga's camp is just using this as leverage, a tactic. They don't think he actually wants to walk. But if he does, that's a huge blow. Golden State could have made different moves this summer. They could have opened up enough room to go after someone like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They could have retooled the bench with smarter depth plays. Instead, they've spent months in limbo, waiting for a player who might not even want to be there. And look, fans are getting tired. Reporters are recycling the same updates week after week, just swapping in different dates. After July 4th, mid-August, once September starts, it's become a broken record. And meanwhile, training camp is creeping up fast. If this doesn't get resolved by the time the calendar flips, then yeah, we might be heading for an October 1 resolution, or worse, ticking time bomb waiting to blow up the start of the season. So here's where things start to get even messier. Because the Warriors are playing a dangerous game with timing, roster construction, and the emotional stability of a team that's already been through a whirlwind of change in the last few years. The truth is, Golden State is not in a place where they can afford to let drama bleed into training camp. Not anymore. This isn't the 2016 squad with prime Steph, Klay, and Draymond, loaded with depth and riding the high of a dynasty. This is a team walking the tightrope between a final championship push and the beginning of a long, uncertain transition. And Jonathan Kuminga, sitting in the middle of all this like an immovable object, is dragging the whole thing into a place no contender wants to be with the season right around the corner. Now, let's be clear, Kuminga is not the villain here. He has every right to bet on himself. He's young, athletic, improving, and he knows that he could get a major payday on the open market next summer if he keeps trending in the right direction. But this is a business, and the way he and his camp are handling the situation has put the front office in handcuffs. What started as a negotiation over contract details has morphed into a full-blown standstill that's preventing the Warriors from locking in key pieces of their rotation. And more importantly, it's sending signals to the locker room, the coaching staff, and the rest of the league that there's internal chaos brewing under the surface. The Warriors are trying to play it cool. The usual messaging about trusting the process, ongoing dialogue, and exploring all options. But we're getting to a point where even the most optimistic fans are starting to get anxious. Because every day that passes without a resolution means another day that Horford, Melton, and GP2 remain in limbo. Another day that potential targets like Cody Martin wait for clarity. Another day closer to camp without a full roster or a clear direction. The Warriors aren't just risking continuity. They're risking cohesion, trust, and identity. There's also the risk that this public standoff with Kuminga sends the wrong message to the young core. Players like Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski are watching all this unfold. They're seeing what it looks like when a promising young player pushes back against the front office and how long it takes to get a resolution. That can have ripple effects. You don't want your developmental pipeline to start believing that friction and stalling are the way to get what you want. You want a culture of alignment, where everyone's pulling in the same direction. That was a hallmark of the Warriors' first title runs. Everyone was in sync, from Steph to the 12th man. Right now, that vibe is fractured. And what's even more frustrating is that the Warriors actually had a chance to get out in front of all this. There were windows earlier in the offseason where they could have dealt Kuminga if it was clear he didn't want to be there long term. He still holds strong trade value. Young, athletic wings with upside are the most coveted assets in today's NBA. But they hesitated. They chose to wait it out. Maybe they thought he'd come around. Maybe they thought the offer on the table, 2 years, $45 million, was fair enough that he'd bite. But he didn't. And now they're stuck, watching options disappear while the league moves on. Meanwhile, Cody Martin is still waiting. And you know what? He might actually be waiting for the Warriors to make the first move, not just to offer him a contract, but to show that they have a plan. Because Martin isn't trying to sign somewhere just to fill a jersey. He's looking for the right fit, the right opportunity, the right culture. And right now, the Warriors don't exactly look like a model of stability. If you're a free agent trying to make the most of the back half of your career, you want to know that your role is clear and the locker room is calm. The longer this Kuminga saga drags out, the less likely it is that players like Martin are going to feel confident stepping into that environment. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Shockwaves are reverberating across the basketball world as rumors swirl that Josh Giddey, the young Australian phenom known for his elite court vision and unselfish style of play, has reportedly agreed to terms with the Golden State Warriors, creating what many analysts are already calling a potentially historic partnership with Stephen Curry. While neither the team nor Giddey's camp has officially confirmed the deal, insiders close to the situation suggest that the agreement is far enough along that it could be announced within days, if not hours. The potential of Giddey stepping onto the court alongside Curry, widely considered the greatest shooter in NBA history, has fans, pundits, and even rival executives buzzing with anticipation, curiosity, and a touch of disbelief. The idea of pairing the 21-year-old playmaking prodigy with a future Hall of Famer at the tail end of his prime sparks endless questions about fit, chemistry, and the evolution of Golden State's offense, which has already been one of the most dynamic systems the league has ever witnessed. Could this move extend the Warriors' dynasty? Or is it simply a bold experiment designed to shake up an aging roster searching for renewed identity and fresh energy? The fit between Giddey and Curry has been the central point of speculation, with many imagining how the two guards could amplify one another's strengths in ways that no previous Warriors lineup has ever achieved. Giddey's passing ability has already drawn comparisons to some of the most creative playmakers of the modern era, and placing him in a system built on constant movement, spacing, and improvisation could unleash an entirely new level of unpredictability for Golden State's offense. Curry, who has spent much of his career bending defenses to the breaking point with his off-ball movement and gravity, might find in Giddey a partner capable of feeding him opportunities in motion that no other teammate has consistently provided. On the flip side, Curry's shooting could open the floor for Giddey, giving him wider passing lanes and more freedom to dictate tempo. Critics, however, warn that Giddey's lack of consistent outside shooting might clog the system or allow defenses to sag off him, forcing Steve Kerr to rethink rotations and spacing. Still, the buzz remains overwhelmingly positive, with whispers suggesting this could be the bold masterstroke needed to reinvigorate the Warriors' championship aspirations. Behind the excitement lies an undercurrent of doubt, as many are asking what this move means for the Warriors' current roster and how it will impact beloved veterans like Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. There are murmurs that Golden State, recognizing the fragility of its aging core, is attempting to bridge the gap between eras by bringing in a young star who can grow into a centerpiece while still maximizing the remaining window of Curry's brilliance. If Giddey can seamlessly integrate into the Warriors' culture of unselfishness and relentless pursuit of winning, it could accelerate his development and solidify him as a cornerstone for years to come. Yet, skeptics argue that blending such a young, still developing player into a system that thrives on discipline and experience might present more challenges than benefits, especially under the relentless scrutiny of championship expectations. Front office insiders hint that this is less of a gamble and more of a calculated evolution, as Golden State seeks to avoid a painful decline while still chasing another title run. The trade-off between preserving legacy and building for the future appears to have pushed the Warriors into one of their boldest moves in recent memory. The reaction from fans has been equally divided, with some flooding social media with excitement about the fresh energy Giddey could bring, while others voice concern that his arrival signals the end of an era defined by the core that delivered 4 championships. Warriors faithful who lived through the Kevin Durant saga understand the risks and rewards of star-studded partnerships, and many are cautiously optimistic that Giddey's youth and playmaking flair will mesh better with Curry than Durant's ISO-heavy style once did. Australian fans, on the other hand, are reveling in the prospect of their homegrown talent joining one of the most storied franchises in basketball, dreaming of seeing Giddey on the final stage feeding passes to Curry in moments that could live forever in highlight reels. Rival fans, particularly from Western Conference powerhouses, have expressed a mix of fear and skepticism, recognizing that even a slightly rejuvenated Warriors squad led by Curry could still pose a dangerous obstacle in the playoffs. The chatter is relentless, the speculation unending, and the feeling around the league is that something seismic has just shifted, even if the official confirmation is still pending. Ultimately, the idea of Josh Giddey joining Stephen Curry in Golden State represents far more than just a transaction. It symbolizes a potential reshaping of the Warriors' identity and an acknowledgement that the dynasty must evolve to survive. The pairing suggests a blending of generations, a veteran still redefining the game, alongside a rising star eager to carve out his legacy. Whether this becomes the spark of a new championship chapter or a bold miscalculation will only be revealed on the hardwood, but the buzz it has created is undeniable. Reporters linger around practice facilities, insiders whisper about press conferences being scheduled, and fans debate endlessly about rotations, lineups, and strategies. If the rumor proves true, the NBA landscape could shift dramatically, with Golden State once again positioning itself as a focal point of innovation, entertainment, and championship contention. Until the ink dries and the official announcement drops, however, the story remains suspended in rumor and speculation, a tantalizing possibility that has already succeeded in reigniting the intrigue around one of the league's most captivating franchises. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.